America. Well, spy chiefs here in the US say China is one of the leading problems facing US national security. And on Monday, the Justice Department charged the Chinese telecom giant Huawei with stealing US trade secrets. It all comes as senior Chinese officials met with their US counterparts here in Washington today. This latest round of talks is aimed at de-escalating trade tensions between the two countries. Joining me now to talk about the meeting is Robert Daly. He's director of the Kissinger Institute on China and the US at the Wilson Center. So, Robert, just how much is hinging on these talks, given that the state of the global economy could rest on whether they can resolve this trade war?
Well, they're not hinging so much on the talks over the next 2 days, which are part of a process, but a series of talks, perhaps 2 more rounds after this one, are supposed to conclude by March 2nd. And if that doesn't happen, President Trump has threatened to raise tariffs on $200 billion in Chinese goods from 10% to 25%, which really could result in a global slowdown.
Well, China's economy is slowing, but the US economy, of course, is dependent on China. So who has most to lose from not budging in these talks?
In the short term, economically, it may be China because, as you say, their economy has slowed down. Some of that is a planned slowdown as China tries to move up the value chain and get more sustainable, higher-term growth. But actually, China's slowdown has surpassed what they'd expected. So in the short term, Xi Jinping probably has more to lose. But President Trump is also under pressure to deliver a win on campaign promises, and it's thought that having failed for the time being on the delivery of the wall with Mexico, this is one that he might want to declare a victory on. The question is, what would the quality of that purported victory be, and would it change this long-term downward trajectory in the relationship?
And what about the timing of the US slapping charges against Huawei, that Chinese telecoms giant, accusing them of stealing, in effect, US trade secrets? Has that poisoned the atmosphere at these talks?
It certainly has poisoned the atmosphere broadly. It is thought that Meng Wanzhou, the CFO of Huawei, who's the daughter of the founder, who is now out on bail in Canada, in Vancouver, living in her $5 million mansion. So it's not hardship exactly, but she's nevertheless a prisoner. She's thought to be a hostage to this. And even though the United States claim, the United States practice is that the Department of Justice pursues these cases separately, the timing is so highly coincidental that it's hard for China to believe that this isn't part of an effort to weaken China, particularly because President Trump himself, several days after she was arrested in Vancouver, said if China gave a better deal on the trade negotiations, that he might intervene. That sort of makes for a hostage ex post facto.
Very interesting. Now, when it comes to China's vice premier, who's here, part of the delegation, he's going to meet with President Trump, isn't he? So how pivotal will that meeting be, especially given this backdrop?
It will be an important part of the process. The vice premier, Liu He, has been here before, came away not only disappointed, but feeling burned and somewhat deceived. He thought that he had reached agreements here that were later rolled back. But he is very close to the leader of China, Xi Jinping, to whom President Trump professes to be very close. He's President Xi's personal emissary. And so he will undoubtedly be coming with messages and asks for President Trump, probably that we won't be hearing about, but they'll play into the process.
And what is your guess, that this is resolved before the deadline of March 2?
Depends what you mean by this. This meaning all of the things that the United States has complained about. There is no way they'll be resolved because we are asking for structural changes in China, which really amount to an ask that the Chinese Communist Party change its mode of governance. That isn't going to happen. China will not roll back its ambitions. China would be happy to buy more American goods and make more vague promises going forward. They can give Trump enough for him to reasonably declare that he got more than his predecessors.
Robert Daly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.